Number 7. Fort Drum. Abandoned military outpost Fort Drum, also known as El Fraile Island, resembles a massive blocky battleship just off the coast of the Philippines, and it still has its rusted firearms in place. During the Spanish-American War, the U.S. had to strengthen its fortifications in several of its recently conquered areas, including Manila Bay. For this reason, it was decided to build a permanent defense base on the little landmass known as El Fraile Island, which was far less expensive than stationing naval forces in the port. The island was leveled and was almost rebuilt entirely with reinforced concrete. It was also given the general form of a huge warship. 2 massive artillery batteries were placed on the island to complete its appearance. Wooden barracks were built on Fort Drum, but they were later taken down so that the swiveling guns could have a fuller range of motion. The fake ship was highly defendable and presented an intimidating silhouette to potential enemies. Sadly, the base was captured by Japanese forces during World War II, and they held it until 1945, when Allied soldiers went to reclaim Manila. The Americans simply poured oil and gasoline onto the base and set it ablaze, eradicating the last of the enemy soldiers and igniting a fire that raged within the facility for days. This was done after the troops had been secured outside the fort. The charred Fort Drum was simply abandoned once Manila was retaken, leaving the burnt fortress to rust away slowly like a motionless ghost ship. Number 6. Challenger Artifact. Recent underwater dive footage off the east coast of Florida was seen by NASA officials who confirmed it showed an artifact from the Challenger space shuttle. While looking for the remains of a World War II era airplane, a TV documentary crew came across the item. On the seafloor, divers stumbled upon a substantial man-made item that was partially hidden by sand. Because of the object's close vicinity to the Florida Space Coast, its modern design, and the presence of 8-inch square tiles, the documentary crew contacted NASA. The tragedy that occurred over 37 years ago that claimed the lives of 7 courageous explorers on board Challenger will live on in the collective memory of our nation. The day of the incident, January 28, 1986, is still fresh in the minds of millions of people worldwide. Michael J. Smith piloted the craft, and Francis R. Dick Scobie commanded the final Challenger mission, dubbed STS-51L. The other crew members included payload specialist Gregory B. Jarvis, instructor S. Krista McAuliffe, and mission specialists Ronald E. McNair, Ellison S. Onizuka, and Judith A. Resnick. The Challenger spacecraft and its 7 astronauts were lost 73 seconds after launch due to a serious failure. Unexpectedly chilly temperatures had an impact on the O-ring seal's integrity in the rocket booster segment joints, according to an agency investigation into the matter. The agency had set the launch as its 25th shuttle mission. A cold front brought freezing temperatures, causing ice to build on the shuttle while it sat overnight on Launch Pad 39B at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Managers approved the mission for launch despite reservations voiced by a few shuttle program staff members, and liftoff took place at 11:38 a.m. The loss of the Challenger, as well as Columbia later on with its 7 astronauts, disintegrated on re-entry in February of 2003 over the western U.S. This event had a significant impact on NASA's safety culture. As a result, new risk assessment protocols were devised by NASA, and a setting was created where anybody could voice their concerns about safety. In order to communicate these lessons both internally and with other government, public, commercial, and international audiences, the agency has established the Apollo Challenger Columbia Lessons Learned program. The discovery of the Challenger relic is the subject of a History Channel documentary that debuted on November 22, 2022. Despite the fact that the episode will be part of a series on the Bermuda Triangle, the artifact was actually discovered far northwest of the mysterious location, off Florida's Space Coast. NASA is currently considering what additional actions it may take in order to properly honor the legacy of the Challenger's fallen astronauts, as well as the families who loved them. Number 5. Yeast from a shipwreck. By using yeast that was found in the oldest beer bottle ever discovered, a group of scientists created a brand new beverage called Preservation Ale. The bottle was recovered from the Sydney Cove shipwreck, which capsized in 1797. On Preservation Island, off the coast of Tasmania, the Sydney Cove was sailing from Calcutta when it ran aground. Throughout the following decades, the wreck was investigated after it was discovered in 1977. Divers found 26 unopened beer bottles in the ship's hold about 20 years ago. Yeast samples were collected by researchers from one of the bottles, and then they cultivated it. Afterward, they used that yeast to brew some beer. Genetic analysis revealed that the yeast they collected from the old beer bottle is closely related to the yeast that's used in Trappist ale. According to the experts, the Preservation Ale has a sweet, almost cider-like flavor that's consistent with historical descriptions. From a scientific perspective, this is a unique chance to examine ancient bacteria, and this beer may reveal a lot about the nutrition and health of the people that lived in the 18th century. The microbes detected in the recovered beer bottles will be further investigated by the researchers, and there's even negotiations happening between several commercial breweries to bring this Preservation Ale to the general public. Who knows? In the next couple of years, you may be able to pick up some Preservation Ale at your local liquor store. Would you ever consider trying Preservation Ale yourself? Let us know in the comments, and while you're at it, hit that subscribe button. Number 4. Worm Highway. 500 million years ago, the ocean floor was believed to be completely void of life. It was considered an ancient dead zone that didn't have the necessary oxygen for most life forms to survive. Now, researchers are questioning that presumption in light of a recent discovery. Geologists have revealed a superhighway of old worm tunnels that were hidden within a chunk of the ancient seafloor in northern Canada. The fossilized tunnels date all the way back to the Cambrian period, suggesting that even the deepest seabeds once harbored more life and oxygen than previously believed. The Cambrian epoch occurred 270 million years before the emergence of the first dinosaurs. A geologist and paleontologist from the University of Saskatchewan named Brian Pratt made the finding 35 years after he initially collected sedimentary rocks from the Mackenzie Mountains. The tunnels where these ancient worms once roamed weren't visible until Pratt used image editing and a flatbed scanner to bring them back to life. A pleasant surprise awaited in the rock slices, a plethora of intricately patterned burrows that were unusually well-defined. The diameter of these tunnels varied from 0.02 to 0.6 inches, so it's likely that there existed a wide variety of worm life at this period and in this unanticipated location. For instance, the estimated length of some of the prehistoric worms is less than a millimeter, while others are believed to be as long as a finger. The researchers think the smaller tunnels were created by polychaetes, a simple critter known as a bristleworm. The bigger tunnels, however, most likely belong to predators that enjoyed attacking unsuspecting surface-dwelling worms and other arthropods from their hiding places. Multicellular creatures developed and spread all across the world during the Cambrian period, which is remembered for its explosion of life. With its exceptionally well-preserved Cambrian fossils, the Burgess Shale in northern Canada is well known. Experts hypothesized that the reason that these fossils were so well preserved was that they'd fallen to the ocean floor, where there was less oxygen to speed up their decomposition and fewer creatures to devour the evidence. If this new study is right, and there really was life on the seafloor, we might need to reconsider some of our presumptions about ancient seas and the continental shelves they rest upon. Number 3. Titanic Artifacts. For 73 years, the Titanic's remains were lost at sea. But in 1985, oceanographers Robert Ballard from the US and Jean-Louis Michel from France discovered the wreck. It was located 370 miles south of Newfoundland, Canada, and was recovered 12,500 feet under the water. Since 1987, over 5,000 artifacts have been recovered from the site by a private American firm named RMS Titanic Inc. From ceramics to hull fragments, the artifacts seem to include a little bit of everything. Between 1987 and 2004, RMS Titanic Inc. conducted 7 research and recovery operations to retrieve relics from the sunken Titanic. Following these trips, certain Titanic items have sold at auction for thousands of dollars, such as an $11,000 admittance ticket to the ship's luxurious Turkish spas. Paper artifacts are far less frequent in collections than glass, metal, and ceramics items. However, because they were contained inside luggage, the retrieved paper or textile objects were unharmed since the bag's tanned leather had a tendency to keep them safe. The luggage was referred to as the time capsules that served as windows into the lives of their owners. Some notable Titanic relics include the kimono that was allegedly worn by survivor Lady Duff Gordon the night of the catastrophe, which sold for $75,000, and a violin once held by Wallace Hartley, the ship's bandmaster, who was famous for playing as the ship sank. Amazingly, the instrument was purchased for a whopping $1.7 million. Unfortunately, though, many artifacts from the Titanic catastrophe are still submerged at the bottom of the ocean, slowly deteriorating from maritime eddies, undercurrents, and corrosion. The RMS Titanic Inc.'s disclosure of its ambitions to carry out more expeditions, including the intention to recover the ship's renowned radio equipment, sparked quite a bit of backlash. In court filings, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration stated that the radio equipment might be surrounded by the mortal remains of more than 1,500 people and ought to be left alone. However, in early of 2020, U.S. District Judge Rebecca Beach Smith stated that the company has every right to retrieve the ship's radio, citing its cultural and historic importance. She also explained that if they wait too long to retrieve the radio, it may disappear entirely before they get the chance. The U.S. government, however, asserted in a court complaint that this proposal would go beyond federal law and a treaty with Britain that designates the wreck as a memorial site. So a legal complaint was filed in June 2020. Some historians are still opposed to the radio rescue, despite the possibility that the degradation of the underwater Titanic relics might be a sufficient justification for continuing the site's salvage operations. Number 2. Babyface shark. A newborn shark with a human face was recently caught by an Indonesian fisherman. In the country's East Nusa Tenggara province, Abdullah Nuran captured the peculiar specimen close to Rote Ndau. He discovered that an adult shark had been caught unintentionally while he was gathering his nets. In the animal's guts, which Nuran had sliced open, were 3 pups. Out of the 3 of them, one stood out, looking completely weird and entirely unlike the other 2. Nuran had reported that the particular pup had a face similar to a human. The baby shark, which was roughly the size of a human hand, looked to have large, round eyes and an open mouth expression, as if it were shocked or surprised. To show his family, who assisted him in preserving it, Nuran brought the creature's body home. When word of his finding spread, more and more people gathered outside of his house in an attempt to see the strange creature. It's believed that the shark is a requiem shark, which belongs to the family Carcharinidae, and can range in size from less than 40 inches to over 24 feet. 2 explanations have been proposed by scientists as to why the baby shark developed such distinct features. The first is that the young shark's eyes might not actually be its eyes. They might be really a piece of the animal's nose. The director of the Florida Program for Shark Research, Gavin Naylor, explained that the eyes are actually nasal capsules. They just hadn't had the chance to close yet. He said that by rolling the shark on its stomach, its real eyes could likely be seen placed dorsolaterally. However, it's also possible that the baby shark was born with an abnormality of some sort. Neil Hammerschlag, a research professor at the University of Miami's Rosenstiel School of Marine and Atmospheric Science, has his reservations regarding the validity of the baby shark photos. But if they're real, he believes a congenital defect is likely to blame. Amazingly, the strange creature isn't the first to resemble a person. A similar unexpected discovery was made by fishermen in October of 2020 when an Indonesian mother shark was caught in their net. They found 2 typical pups and 1 unusual one when they cut open the shark. The newborn shark had 1 eye and was albino. 3 babies were there, but one of them had an odd-looking appearance, with just 1 large eye similar to that of a cyclops. One of the fishermen who discovered the find said that it had an odd tint and was milk-colored. Scientists aren't really certain what causes these mutations. However, based on what they do know, the abnormalities may result from a variety of causes, including diseases, pollution, and inbreeding due to overfishing, which reduces the gene pool. Number 1. Zealandia. A continent known as Zealandia was entirely covered by the Pacific Ocean tens of millions of years ago. A group of researchers embarked on an undersea excursion in the summer of 2017, utilizing a cutting-edge research vessel, and the findings may provide fresh information about Earth's prehistory. The expedition lasted 2 months and involved over 30 scientists from a dozen countries. They managed to collect 8,000 feet of sediment cores from the ocean floor at a depth of 4,000 feet. These cores will reveal how the geology of the Earth has changed in the past 70 million years. It's estimated that Zealandia split from Australia between 60 and 85 million years ago, creating New Zealand and other nearby islands. The question of whether it should be considered a separate continent, though, is still up for debate. Michael Scotese, a geologist at Northwestern University, told National Geographic in February 2017 that although it was continental, it wasn't actually a continent. He compared Zealandia's relationship with Australia to the link between Greenland and North America, as well as Madagascar and Africa. The expedition collected more than 8,000 fossils, providing the team with an opportunity to research hundreds of different species. This will eventually help scientists learn more about Zealandia's past life before it was submerged. Gerald Dickens, who oversaw the expedition, released a statement that said the discovery of microscopic shells of organisms that lived in shallow warm seas and of pollen and spores from land plants reveal that the climate and geography of Zealandia were dramatically different in the past.
7. H-20 stealth bomber. China is known for its rapid and ambitious military modernization, and one of its most secretive and anticipated projects is the H-20 stealth bomber. The H-20, or sometimes called the Xi'an H-20, is a flying wedge type of stealth aircraft that borrows its design from the American B-2 bomber. The H-20 is expected to have a range of 7,500 miles, 12,070 kilometers, without the need for aerial refueling. And it's also expected to be nuclear capable. The H-20 is being developed by the Xi'an Aircraft Industrial Corporation, a state-owned company that also produces the H-6 bomber, a 1950s-era design that China has upgraded over the years. The H-6 is China's current main strategic bomber, but it's outdated and vulnerable to modern air defenses. The H-20 is meant to replace the H-6 and give China a more credible and survivable long-range strike capability. The H-20 is designed to have a stealthy shape and low observable features, like serrated air intakes, foldable twin-tail surfaces, and cranked kite wings. It's also expected to have advanced avionics, sensors, and electronic warfare systems, as well as a large internal weapons bay that can carry air-to-air and air-to-surface missiles and more. The H-20 could carry both conventional and nuclear weapons, and potentially penetrate enemy air defenses. The H-20 was first announced by a Chinese Air Force general in 2016, but details about its development and appearance have been scarce and speculative. Some reports suggest that the H-20 may be revealed sometime in the next year or two, while others say it may take longer to complete. Some analysts estimate that China may build up to 30 or 40 H-20s in total. The H-20 is undoubtedly a formidable weapon that could enhance China's military power and presence in the region and beyond, although this might not be great for the US come wartime. 6. The Fujian. The Fujian is the third and most powerful aircraft carrier of the People's Liberation Army Navy plan. It was launched on June 17, 2022 at the Jiangnan Shipyard in Shanghai and is expected to be commissioned in late 2023 or early 2024. It's named after Fujian Province, which is located on the southeastern coast of China. The Fujian is the first aircraft carrier with a fully indigenous design in China, and it represents a significant leap in the country's naval capabilities. Unlike its predecessors, which used ski jump ramps to launch aircraft, the Fujian features a flat-top design with an electromagnetic catapult-assisted launch system, CATOBAR. This allows it to carry heavier aircraft like the J-15 fighter jet and the KJ-600 Airborne Early Warning and Control Aircraft, AEW and C. It also enables faster and more flexible operations, as well as longer range and more payload for the aircraft. The Fujian has a displacement of over 80,000 tons, 80 million kilograms, and a length of 1,036 feet, 316 meters. It can accommodate up to 40 aircraft on its deck and hangar, and it's also equipped with advanced radar, electronic warfare, and missile defense systems. The Fujian even has a 130mm main gun and a close-in weapon system for self-protection. It also has a steam turbine propulsion system that can generate more than 220,000 horsepower, 164 megawatts. The Fujian is seen as a symbol of China's rising naval power and ambition, as well as a challenge to the US and other rivals in the region and beyond. It's expected to play a key role in China's maritime strategy, especially in asserting its claims over the disputed waters of the East and South China Seas, and deterring any intervention in the Taiwan issue. The Fujian will also enhance China's ability to project power and influence globally, as part of its Belt and Road Initiative and other interests. The Fujian isn't only China's largest and most modern warship, but also one of the most advanced aircraft carriers in the world. It marks a new era for China's naval development and its aspirations to become a maritime superpower. 5. ZTZ-99 Main Battle Tank. If you're looking for a tank that can do it all, look no further than the ZTZ-99 Main Battle Tank. This beast of a machine is China's pride and joy, and for good reason. It has everything you need to dominate the battlefield, from a powerful gun to a speedy engine. The ZTZ-99 has a 125mm main gun that can fire different types of ammunition, depending on what you want to blow up. You can use armor-piercing rounds to slice through enemy tanks, high-explosive rounds to cause massive damage to soft targets, or anti-tank missiles to hit targets from afar. The gun can also be elevated and depressed to aim at different angles, making it both versatile and flexible. It also has a 12.7mm heavy machine gun and a 7.62mm machine gun for dealing with smaller threats like infantry or light vehicles. These guns are mounted on the turret and can be controlled by the commander or the gunner. They're useful for suppressing enemy fire or defending against close-range attacks. The ZTZ-99 is powered by a 1,500 horsepower, 1.1 megawatt diesel engine that gives it a top speed of 50 miles per hour. The tank also has a sophisticated suspension system that allows it to traverse through terrain and obstacles with ease. The tank can climb slopes, and it can cross ditches and rivers without breaking a sweat. It's not only strong and fast, but also smart and safe. It has a fire control system that helps the crew aim and fire accurately, even when the tank is moving or under fire. The ZTZ-99 has a laser rangefinder, a thermal imager, and a night vision device to enhance its vision and detection capabilities. The tank also has composite armor, explosive reactive armor, and smoke grenade launchers to protect itself from enemy fire. The ZTZ-99 main battle tank is truly a remarkable machine that can handle any challenge on the battlefield. It's the ultimate weapon for any tank lover or war enthusiast. So, if you ever get a chance to see one in action, don't miss it. 4. Jian, China's legendary sword. If you're a fan of ancient Chinese culture, you might have heard of the Jian, the double-edged straight sword that was regarded as the king of all weapons. The Jian wasn't only a weapon for warfare, but also a symbol of moral values such as loyalty, righteousness, and wisdom. It was often owned and used by the educated class or skilled warriors who were expected to uphold these virtues. The Jian has a long history of over 2,500 years in China. The legendary sword was originally mentioned in Chinese texts in the 7th century BC, during the spring and fall seasons. One of the earliest specimens is the Sword of Gojian, a tin bronze sword that was discovered in 1965. And today, the weapon is still in remarkably good condition. The Jian was used throughout various dynasties and periods and evolved in design and style over time. The sword has a straight, double-edged blade that can be used for slashing, stabbing, and deflecting attacks. The blade can vary in length from 18 to 31 inches, 45 to 80 centimeters, depending on the type and purpose of the sword. The blade can also have different patterns or decorations, such as blood grooves, inscriptions, or symbols. The Jian has a guard, or hilt, that protects the hand from an opposing blade. The guard can have different shapes or features like wings, lobes, crossbars, or keons. Some guards even feature zoomorphic shapes, such as dragons or phoenixes. The guard can also have an ace of spades appearance, which is believed to ward off evil spirits. The jian has a handle that can accommodate the grip of both hands or one hand plus 2 or 3 fingers of the other hand. The handle is usually made of wood or covered in leather or cord, and it can also have a pommel at the end for balance, striking, or trapping the opponent. Additionally, the pommel can have a tassel attached to it for decoration or distraction. The jian isn't only a sword, but also an art form. It's used in various styles of Chinese martial arts, including Taijiquan and Wushu. The jian is also featured in many Chinese legends, stories, and movies like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Hero, and Mulan. The jian is truly a remarkable weapon that reflects the rich and diverse culture of China. It's a weapon that combines strength and grace, power and elegance, and skill and wisdom. Do you think the world would be better off if we stopped using firearms altogether? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. And while you're at it, subscribe. 3. CL20. If you're looking for a substance that can make a big bang, you might want to check out CL20. This is the nickname for hexanitrohexaazaisowurtzatane, a polycyclic nitroamine explosive with an extremely long and complicated name. CL20 is hailed as one of the most explosive non-nuclear substances on Earth, with a detonation velocity of 31,168 feet per second, and an energy output 20% higher than traditional explosives like RDX and HMX. CL20 was developed by the Chinese Lake facility of the Naval Air Weapons Station in California in the 1980s, primarily to be used in propellants for rockets and missiles. It has a better oxidizer-to-fuel ratio than conventional explosives, which means it can burn more efficiently and produce less smoke. However, CL20 also has some drawbacks that have limited its widespread adoption. One of them is its high production cost, which makes it more expensive than other explosives. Another weakness of the CL20 is its high sensitivity to shock and friction, which makes it prone to accidental detonation during handling and storage. To overcome these challenges, Chinese researchers have recently developed a new method to synthesize large amounts of CL20 with enhanced stability and safety. They used nanotechnology to create CL20 composites with 5 times more shock resistance than the original material. This means that CL20 can withstand more impact without exploding, making it safer to transport and use. China is the only country so far to possess the mass production capability of CL20 and has used it in some of its newest weapons, like the country's hypersonic missiles that can impressively travel faster than 5 times the speed of sound. According to some reports, China has also used CL20 in a wargame simulation, where it sank an entire U.S. aircraft carrier fleet in the South China Sea with 24 missiles. CL20 is undoubtedly a powerful explosive that could have significant military applications in the future. However, it also poses some risks and challenges that need to be addressed before it can be widely used. As the Chinese researchers said, its safety performance needs to be improved. 2. Type 055 Destroyer. China's People Liberation Army Navy, PLAN, is rapidly expanding and modernizing its fleet, and one of its most impressive achievements is the Type 055 Destroyer, also known as the Renhai class in the West. This is a class of stealth-guided missile destroyers that are among the largest and most advanced surface combatants in the world. The Type 055 Destroyer was developed to fulfill multiple missions, including area air defense, land attacks, and more. It's also expected to provide escort and support for China's aircraft carriers, as well as undertake expeditionary missions in distant waters. The Type 055 Destroyer has a displacement of about 13,000 tons and a length of 590 feet. It has a sleek and stealthy design with a low radar cross-section and reduced infrared and electromagnetic radiation signatures. It's powered by 4 gas turbines in a combined gas and gas COGAG configuration, giving it a speed of up to 30 knots, 35 miles per hour, or 56 kilometers. The Type 055 Destroyer is armed with a variety of weapon systems, including a 130mm dual-purpose gun, a 30mm close-in weapon system, CIWS, and a 24-cell HQ-10 short-range surface-to-air missile launcher. The most impressive feature, though, is its 112 vertical launch system, VLS cells, which can accommodate different types of missiles like the long-range HHQ-9 surface-to-air missile, the YJ-18 anti-ship cruise missile, the CJ-10 land attack cruise missile, and anti-submarine missiles. The Type 055 destroyer is also capable of carrying 2 medium-lift helicopters. This destroyer is equipped with advanced sensors and electronic warfare capabilities, such as the Type 346B Dragon Eye Active Phased Array Radar, APAR, which can track and engage multiple targets simultaneously. It also has a comprehensive combat management system that can integrate information from various sources and coordinate with other platforms. The first Type 055 destroyer, named Nanchang, was commissioned in 2020. But since then, at least 6 more have been built, and more are in various stages of construction. And in total, China plans to build at least 16 of these warships. The Type 055 destroyer is undoubtedly a powerful and versatile platform that could enhance China's naval capabilities and presence in the region and beyond. However, it also faces some challenges and uncertainties, like operational readiness, maintenance costs, crew training, and potential adversaries. As China's Navy continues to grow and evolve, the Type 055 destroyer will likely play a key role in its future strategy and ambitions. 1. The QBZ-95, China's modern and powerful assault rifle. Let's take a look at the QBZ-95, the standard-issue assault rifle of the Chinese military and police forces. This is a weapon that combines modern design, powerful performance, and versatile features, making it one of the most formidable rifles in the world. The QBZ-95 is a bullpup design, which means that the firing grip is located in front of the breech of the weapon, making it shorter and more maneuverable than conventional rifles. This gives the QBZ-95 an advantage in close quarters combat and urban warfare, where space and mobility are crucial. The QBZ-95 has a total length of 29 inches, which is about 4 inches, 10.2 centimeters shorter than the American M4 carbine, but with a longer barrel of 20.5 inches, improving the weapon's accuracy and range. The QBZ-95 has a unique 5.9 by 42 mm cartridge that's lighter and faster than the common 5.56 by 45 mm or 7.62 by 39 mm rounds. The 5.8 mm round has a muzzle velocity of 3,051.2 feet per second and has an effective range of 1,312 feet, giving it superior penetration and stopping power. The QBZ-95 has a 30-round magazine that can be easily changed with one hand, thanks to the ambidextrous magazine release button. The QBZ-95 uses polymer materials that make it durable and resistant to corrosion. It also has a carrying handle that can mount various sights and scopes. This assault rifle can produce single shots, 3-round bursts, or fully automatic fire, depending on the situation. It has a low recoil and high accuracy, making it a reliable and effective weapon for various combat scenarios. The QBZ-95 is a proud achievement of the Chinese defense industry and a symbol of China's military strength and innovation.
Number 3. The Second Pearl Harbor Attack. Many people have heard of the devastating attack on Pearl Harbor in December of 1941, which launched U.S. participation in World War II. But not many realized that there was actually a second attack on Hawaii by the Japanese forces, but this one did not go according to plan. 3 months after the first attack that knocked out most of Oahu's air defenses and much of the ships stationed at Pearl Harbor, the Japanese were ready to build on the success of their initial assault and continue hitting the United States. There was a good reason why the Japanese were so quick to move forward. After their assault on Pearl Harbor, many military leaders believed they would now have a chance to press on and take over much of Asia without meeting any resistance from the Allied forces. But it soon came to light that although there had been significant death and destruction, including the sinking and irreparable damage to 4 out of the 8 warships stationed in Pearl Harbor, a majority of the rest of the site had gone untouched. This included shipyards, maintenance facilities, and fuel reserves, meaning that the US was able to quickly jump back into action. So the aim of Operation K, Japan's second attack, was to stop these repair efforts so that their forces can continue on unimpeded. They planned to use their new invention, the H-8K amphibious plane. At the time, they had 2 prototypes ready to launch their assault. The H-8K amphibious plane went on to be one of the most feared and powerful planes in World War II. Despite their small size, with only 124 feet wingspan, the aircraft was incredibly fast, able to move around 300 miles per hour to go toe-to-toe with the smaller American fighter craft. On March 3, 1942, the 2 H-8K aircraft took off from Woolwich Atoll in the Marshall Islands and landed in the French frigate Shoals, approximately 560 miles northwest of Honolulu. While there, they were refueled by 2 submarines. Afterwards, the H-8Ks left towards Oahu, flying under the cover of darkness. Each plane was loaded with 4 550-pound bombs. Roughly 200 miles away from their target, the U.S. radar systems picked up on their presence, prompting American fighter planes to scramble and intercept them. Unfortunately, thanks to the absence of airborne radar at the time, the fighters were unable to find the H-8Ks once they were in the air. But the same darkness and lack of visibility that hindered the U.S. planes from spotting the Japanese was also the downfall of the enemy's mission. The Japanese forces hoped for a moonlit night in order to help the pilots locate their bombing targets once they reached Pearl Harbor. Instead, conditions were less than optimal, with light rain and cloud cover making visibility poor. To add to this, during that time there were hardly any lights on the ground to help the pilots in their mission. After the December attack, a strict blackout policy was put into place, resulting in a complete absence of artificial lights at night. All civilian lights, whether they were electric or even open flames, were extinguished as soon as dusk came in. To further reduce visibility, car headlights were painted with darker colors to dim their overall brightness. This effort aimed to minimize any and all sources of light that could potentially aid enemy aircraft in identifying targets. The additional support in the form of a Japanese submarine that was supposed to accompany the 2 planes and help guide them to their targets also never showed up that night. Instead, the bombing raid was carried out using shoddy guesswork, with the pilots having to use their direction and the distance they traveled to gauge when the correct time to release their bombs was. The first plane's bombs landed in the mountains close to Honolulu, smashing the windows of a local high school and waking everyone up in the city. It is believed that the second plane dropped all of its bombs straight into the water, since no evidence was found at all on the land of its payload. Despite the best efforts of the Japanese, no lives were taken in the attack, and surprisingly, no one suffered any injuries either. If the bombs had hit their intended targets, though, we would be looking at an entirely different story. 4,400 pounds of explosives landing on Pearl Harbor's dock would have been a crippling blow and would have changed the tides of the war in Japan's favor. Instead, the attack gave the U.S. forces the upper hand and helped them realize their vulnerability to long-range bombing attacks, so they positioned a destroyer at the French frigate Shoals to stop this from happening for the rest of the war. Did you know about this second Pearl Harbor attack? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe while you're at it. Number 2. The Ghost Army. Entering service on January 20th, 1944, the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops, or the Ghost Army, was the first tactical deception unit in American Army history. The unit was pretty small, composed of only 82 officers and 1,023 men under the command of Army veteran Colonel Harry L. Reeder. But despite this lack of soldiers, their impact during the last year of the war was massive. Using tactics like loudspeakers, the top-secret unit created the impression that the enemy was facing 2 whole divisions, which came to about 30,000 men, even though they were only facing a number 30 times less. Right before D-Day happened in May of 1944, most of the units arrived in England. The masterminds behind the Ghost Army were Colonel Billy Harris and Major Ralph Ingersoll, 2 American military planners who were stationed in London at the time. The 23rd was made up of a hand-picked team consisting of men from all kinds of backgrounds, including artists, engineers, professional soldiers, and draftees. Among them were renowned figures like the fashion designer Bill Blass, painter Ellsworth Kelly, and photographer Art Kane. The unit also had many West Point graduates and former participants of the Army Specialized Training Program. They were known for having one of the highest average IQs in the Army, with a mean score of 119. Now, here's where things get more interesting. The 23rd utilized unconventional tactics to outsmart their enemies. Despite being armed only with 50 caliber machine guns, they relied heavily on their creativity and resourcefulness. They waged war using inflatable tanks and vehicles, simulated radio message, and clever sound effects. They even impersonated high-ranking officers. It was all centered around imagination and illusion. By employing these innovative strategies, the 23rd successfully deceived the enemy and saved countless lives while doing so. Their efforts helped the Allies and played a significant role in winning the war. Number 1. Lady Death. In 1916, Bila Tserkva, a sizable city in Ukraine, Lyudmila Pavlichenko was born. From a young age, she exhibited a spirited and competitive nature and was quite the tomboy. She relished the opportunity to show that girls could do as much, if not more, than their male counterparts. At the young age of 14, Pavlichenko and her family moved to Kyiv, where she enrolled in a sharpshooter class, displaying her innate talent with weapons. Her skill earned her the Voroshilov Sharpshooter Badge, a distinguished civil award, and even a marksman certificate. In 1937, she decided to take the next step in her education and enrolled at Kyiv University with the goal of becoming a teacher. Alongside her studies, she remained dedicated to marksmanship and attending courses at a sniper school. Pavlichenko even competed on her university's track team. Everything changed for her, though, in June of 1941, when Adolf Hitler initiated Operation Barbarossa, launching the German invasion of the Soviet Union. At the time, she was only 24 years old and in her final year of university. After learning of the invasion, she made her way to the Odessa recruiting office, determined to help with the war efforts. Although officials suggested that she become a nurse, Pavlichenko insisted on joining the Soviet Army's infantry. Although they initially doubted her abilities, she proved herself in a training mission by taking out 2 Romanian collaborators from a hill defended by Soviet forces. As a result, Pavlichenko was officially accepted into the Red Army's 25th Rifle Division as a sniper. Before long, she became part of an elite group. Only 2,000 snipers in the Soviet Army were female. Despite the challenges and dangers she faced, her courage and skills made her an invaluable asset in the fight. During the grueling siege of Odessa, Pavlichenko demonstrated unwavering bravery on the front lines for over 2 months. Her exceptional marksmanship helped turn the tides as she took out 187 enemies single-handedly. Recognizing her remarkable contributions, Pavlichenko received a well-deserved promotion to the rank of senior sergeant. But in October of 1941, the Romanian army took control of Odessa, forcing her unit to strategically withdraw to Sevastopol, where they continued their defense efforts. The siege of Sevastopol was a long and arduous battle, lasting 8 months. It resulted in heavy casualties for the Soviet forces. During this intense and challenging environment, Pavlichenko's prowess as a sniper continued to shine through. Her confirmed kill count rose even higher, reaching 257 kills by May 1942. Pavlichenko's performance and her growing list of accomplishments earned her yet another promotion, this time to the rank of lieutenant. Her dedication made her an invaluable asset to the Soviets during this critical period of the war, and this was something the German forces were starting to learn all too well. They tried to bribe her, sending messages over radio loudspeakers saying, "Lyudmila Pavlichenko, come over to us. We will give you plenty of chocolate and make you a German officer." Luckily, Lyudmila always turned them down. As her confirmed kill count kept rising, her missions became increasingly dangerous. One particularly challenging aspect was counter-sniping, which involved engaging in duels with enemy snipers. Remarkably, Pavlichenko came out victorious in every duel she faced, showcasing her tactical prowess. Among these intense battles was a memorable duel that lasted 3 days. Pavlichenko demonstrated patience and precision, ultimately prevailing over her opponent. She attributed her success to the enemy sniper making one move too many. In the end, she added another feat to her record by taking out the skilled enemy sniper, becoming one of the 36 she successfully took down. Towards the end of her time on the front lines, Lyudmila's confirmed kills stood at a whopping 309. As a result, the sweet messages from the Germans trying to convince her to defect started to turn into violent threats. She earned the nickname Lady Death among their forces, and one of the messages sent to her even said, "If we catch you, we will tear you into 309 pieces and scatter them to the winds." Instead of getting scared by this, Lyudmila was actually pleased. It let her know that the Germans were aware of her work and knew her record. During her service in Sevastopol in June 1942, Pavlichenko sustained a severe injury. Shrapnel from a mortar round struck her face, causing significant wounds. Recognizing her value as a skilled sniper, the Soviet High Command made the strategic choice to withdraw her from combat. After she fully healed from her injuries, Lyudmila expected to be sent back to the front lines to continue her work. But instead, she found herself in a new role. She was made into living propaganda. In the latter half of 1942, Lyudmila Pavlichenko made her way to Washington, D.C. By this time, she'd earned many prestigious decorations and held the rank of Soviet lieutenant. By traveling to the United States, she was to represent the Soviet Union and advocate for American support in establishing a second European front. The situation on the Eastern Front was dire, with the Red Army sustaining heavy casualties. Recognizing the urgent need to divert the attention of German forces, which were rapidly advancing through Eastern Europe and getting deeper into Soviet territory, the Soviet leader Stalin wanted to secure a second front. Pavlichenko, as a highly decorated and respected figure, was entrusted with the crucial task of rallying American support for this mission. Her arrival in the States carried great significance. She became the first Soviet citizen to be warmly welcomed into the White House. Her visit aimed to bridge the gap between the two countries and emphasize the importance of solidarity in war. It was here that she made a lifelong friend and First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt, who invited her to tour the country and speak about her experience as a woman in combat. Despite speaking little to no English, Lyudmila agreed to this request. Many people flocked to see Lyudmila on her tour, and initially the response seemed to be aimed more at her gender and appearance. She was often recognized for her long olive green army skirt, which many said made her look frumpy and fat, and the fact that she did not wear any makeup. She quickly managed to silence her critics, though. At one speech in Chicago, she stunned the mostly male audience by telling them, "Gentlemen, I am 25 years old and I have killed 309 fascist occupants by now. Don't you think, gentlemen, that you have been hiding behind my back for too long?" The crowd erupted into applause at this, and before long, Lyudmila became a highly respected figure. She even had a song written about her by the famous singer Woody Guthrie entitled Miss Pavlichenko. After her tour of the United States, Lyudmila went on to visit both Canada and Britain. But despite the warm reception she received in these countries, it would not be until 1944 that the Soviet Army and Stalin saw the creation of the Second Front in Europe in the form of Operation Overlord. After her return to the Soviet Union, she was given a number of awards. These included a promotion to the rank of Major, as well as being given the Hero of the Soviet Union distinction, as well as not one, but 2 opportunities to receive the Order of Lenin, the highest civilian award. Pavlichenko never went back to the front lines in combat, so her total count remained at 309 kills, which was still the highest total ever reached by a female sniper in history. Instead, she focused on training new sniper recruits, and once the war was over, retired into obscurity, finishing her studies at the University of Kyiv and becoming a humble historian. Pavlichenko's extraordinary journey came to an end on October 10, 1974, when she passed away after a stroke. Her legacy as a military hero and the most accomplished female sniper in history lives on to this day. Thanks for watching. Which one of these 3 World War II stories was your favorite? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this one. See you next time. Bye for now.